Week number 2 of our little live series. Wait a couple of minutes, people to jump on.
So while we're waiting, I don't know if you, speaking of Twitter, we mentioned Twitter earlier. Apple iPhone's cool new I'm going to detect a crash program. There was a tweet that went out that's from someone riding the roller coaster that spun and twirled and did all the things roller coasters do. And you could hear the phone saying, "This iPhone user has been in a crash." It automatically fired up. It's not like the person's going to whip out their phone and go, "No, I'm okay," in the middle of a roller coaster ride. So yeah, 911 was being called apparently. So it's a cool feature, but may have some tweaks yet to go.
I mean, to be fair, there's not much of a difference there between a car crash and a
Right.
roller coaster ride.
Yeah, I'm
So I
spinning,
don't know how
going
you
really
tweak that.
fast. Yeah, how do you check for that? Users are gonna have to go, "Okay, I'm riding a roller coaster now. Please don't call 911 for the next 10 minutes."
Amusement park settings.
Yeah, they didn't account for that one apparently. I don't ride those personally. I think you have to be nuts to do something where you want to go, but to each his own. Some people think near death is fun.
It's very true. All right, welcome everybody. Today, for our live episode of Between the Bytes, we're going to be talking about a age-old question, been around for kind of a long time, Mac versus PC. And I'm kind of on my own here as a pro Mac user, and for some reason thought it'd be fun to challenge an actual IT professional in this kind of a of a debate. I don't know why, but we're going to give it a shot anyways.
Maybe
And
ride
I'll do
roller
my
coasters
best.
too. I don't know.
Yeah. Do my best not to devolve to insults and focusing on how pretty Macs are, because that's really not much of an argument.
We could do jokes.
So
That's okay. That's not off the table, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Not much is on this one.
Okay.
We should play the old ads, the
Mac versus PC ads. Yeah.
Oh, I was watching those the other day.
Those are pro Apple though.
They are, and power to Apple, because the reason that Apple started pushing those so hard is Windows Vista. That's right after the launch of Windows Vista, which I think we can all admit was a horrible, horrible adaptation of Windows. Everybody hated it.
Yeah.
So then, Apple went pretty hard in the Mac and PC ads, which I think is pretty funny. The sad thing is, though, I watched just kind of a supercut of all of them while I was doing some other work. 80% of the things that are like the pro Apple things that they talk about are gone now. The MagSafe is gone. The Genius Bar, when it first came out, the name is atrocious, and it's a gross overestimation of the people that work at a place like that. When it started, it was a good idea, the Genius Bar, for the regular user to have access to. I can't even call him an IT person because that's insulting to IT professionals. I won't do that. Let's say somebody who is aspiring to be an IT professional, maybe that's one of their starting places right out of high school. Anyways, at the beginning,
we've hired some people from there. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good starting point. But nowadays, the more I hear about them and the more I talk to them, it's like they stopped training them and they stopped telling them to be in a good mood when they're helping you.
Oh, wow.
They're just not nice anymore. And then after the whole COVID thing, even though today, all the social distancing and everything is kind of in the past now, they won't talk to you without an appointment anymore, which defeats a lot of the purpose. Doesn't matter how available they are. They can be completely available. No one else is in the store. If you don't set an appointment, they won't speak to you.
Wow.
So
which side are you arguing for again?
No, there are a couple of things that I need to clear the air with when it comes to Mac. That one bugs me, and I will never forgive Mac for getting rid of the MagSafe charging port.
Yeah, that does remind me of one of the jokes.
Terrible.
How do you fix a Mac? You take it to the Apple store. If that doesn't work, you buy a new one.
That's pretty good.
Weep.
Okay, so I want to ask, before you guys really dive in, again, I'm more of a fly on the wall on this one. I'll just let you guys go at it. But a meta question here. This age-old debate, I feel like it peaked in its heat, in its intensity 10-ish years ago. I don't know if it's, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know if it's as intense of a debate now. It's more of a just, you like that, I like this.
Oh gosh,
live and let
you've never been
live.
in IT circles then, man. At work,
I think some of the key things that brought this debate
Maybe
back
not.
is one, the Apple and their M1 chip.
yep.
Now, I've heard some things about the M2 that just came out from actually IT people in Executech.
Oh, we lost Derik.
Oh,
So yeah, we literally we have to ask people not to discuss that. It's like up there with religion and politics at the office. When we start on Teams or in a training center, oh, he's back.
you're back, Derik.
Hey, wonderful.
Oh,
There he is.
oh, we're moving
I still
around.
there?
I don't
Moving
have to be
around,
behind the banner
shifting.
anymore.
I got the clock in my head though.
All right. Okay, so can you see me and hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
you're back.
You're good.
All right, because you're both frozen on my screen. But anyways, yeah, it's still a heated debate. The M1 chip is pretty great, but also Windows has done a lot to make more attractive, appealing machines. It's not such boring nonsense anymore. So they have actually upped their game a little bit to close that gap from what you would expect when you hear a PC laptop and what you would expect when you get a Mac.
He's gonna argue both sides. I'm just gonna sit back and watch.
Oh, just wait.
Yourself here, Derik. Love it.
So I had a MacBook for a while, and I have to admit, I put Boot Camp or Parallels on it and loaded up Windows because there was some program I needed that only worked in Windows. And then I pretty much just lived in Windows after that. It was a really fancy Windows machine with an Apple logo. It was an
And-
expensive one though.
At the same time, Mac can run Windows better than a Windows can. That's kind of sad.
Okay.
If that's what you have to do, because if you like Windows, I personally I'm too used to Mac, so I don't like the whole Windows anything about it. But that aside, that's what you have to do if you want a great Windows machine is get a Mac and then teach it to run Windows instead. It's not great. It's not a good look for Windows or any PCs.
All right, next joke then.
Now, what I do have to ask is, well, Chromebook, who has to take credit for that? Or is that why Gary is our moderator, is because he has a Google Pixel, therefore he has to pretend to like the atrocity that is a Google Chromebook? Or is that considered a PC?
No, no, that's
I
a
don't.
Chrome
I wouldn't call
OS.
Chromebook a PC. It's its own beast.
That's not
All right,
running
then, Gary.
Windows.
And
We'll
I
get you a
admit I did
Chromebook.
not fact check this stat, but I'm going to say it anyway because here we are. Chromebooks outsold Macs. I don't know. It was like in 2020.
Uh-huh.
One of the years in the past, Chromebooks outsold Macs. Look, man, you can get a very functional computer. Maybe computer. I do admit that that's maybe a strong term.
Stretch.
For $250.
Yeah.
And you can, and I mean, how much are you actually doing these days outside of a browser?
And
I mean,
Office
for your
apps.
IT people, yes, and for some other industry specifics, but you can do Docs, Excel, all that within Google, surfing the web. There's so many web-based applications now. I really do like Chromebooks.
Which makes it great for schooling, right? Kids in
Yeah.
school, and parents don't want to buy multiple expensive laptops, so they're buying Chromebooks, and it works for them. As long as there's internet, it works fine for them.
Yeah, I think for an elementary school student, Chromebooks were useful, which is why all the schools with all this.
Lying about my choice of Chromebook. For the record, it's not my main thing. It's
No, I'm going to make you. You have a Pixel. You have to like Chromebook. Isn't that how this whole thing works? All right. Anyways, that's my whole beef with a Chromebook is they're useless except for elementary school children. A great tool. I could only imagine how the school systems would be with this whole remote learning thing if they had to buy anything but a Chromebook. That would be, they'd have to start laying teachers off just to afford the the hardware to keep kids in school.
Doubt.
All right. My number one problem, James,
Yeah, let's hear it. Bring it.
All right, so I'm forced to use Windows because I work for an IT company.
There are Mac users in our environment, for the record, so I'm not sure that's true.
There
Go
are,
ahead.
there
Yeah,
are.
they use Mac. Anyway,
I just wasn't one of them. I don't hate it. It is actually a very nice machine, but the crashing. Oh my God, the crashing. If I leave this device on overnight, it's crashed overnight.
Hmm.
If I don't touch it for a few hours, it crashes. Everything shuts down. It has to go to the blue screen and hit a whole restart protocol and everything without question 100% of the time out of the box. It doesn't matter if there's applications running or not. It crashes. Now I have a 5-year-old Mac and it's crashed twice in its entire lifetime. Both times I was running Photoshop Lightroom and I forgot that I had Premiere open as well. So I was running almost the whole
Wow.
Adobe suite at the same time. Premiere was in the background. I wasn't actually doing anything on that. I just didn't notice that I had left it open. Those are the only 2 times, even 5 years old now, that it's ever crashed in its lifetime. And a Dell or an HP or the Asus that I had before this Dell, it's almost like a weekly event. It'd be weird if it didn't crash. I'm so used to it.
Your Honor, user error.
User
I
error.
don't have that problem, man. I'm on the this has been restarted since the last time I did updates. I'm running a virtual machine inside of this to do work. I play games on and off. I've got 1,000 Chrome tabs open. I definitely do not see that issue. Does it exist? Sure. Sorry it's happening to you, but when was the last time you did updates on it? I guess I'll ask. Or driver
Whenever
updates,
it
which
tells
I'm
me
sure
to.
we'll get into.
Oh yeah. Whenever it tells me to, I just hit
Okay.
yes.
Huh.
I don't know. User
Okay.
error. Most of the time it only happens when I'm not using it. So maybe I just have a temperamental computer that doesn't like it if I ignore it for too long.
Maybe it knows you hate Windows and so
It
it's
gets emotional.
there's a joke about classmates, like, why are you carrying 2 laptops? Like, oh, one's a MacBook and one's I use for work.
That's exactly what I do. Is I have 2 laptops.
Right.
One I have to use for work, and the other one I use for anything else that I possibly can.
All right, Mac. Have they never heard of touchscreens before? Is that
Oh,
ever going to be a thing? Come on, really? I've got a stylus here. I can fold my laptop over. She brought my laptop in with me. Fold it over, turns into a tablet, and I can write on it. I can get a whiteboard. It's how I teach people every other Friday. I teach a class at Executech.
In defense, it's just an explanation.
Oh, okay.
Money.
Money.
They ought to sell their iPads. You put it. You
true.
put a touchscreen on an iMac or anything that they won't sell iPads anymore. So
Yeah, they did. That's exactly what they did because they put time and effort into their sidecar tool, which turns your iPad into a second monitor. Initially, it wasn't great, but with these last few updates, it's actually a pretty fun feature using that iPad as a sidecar.
Can I
But
use my
yeah,
expensive Mac as a sidecar for my iPad too?
right? I don't know. I think it's just the one way.
Okay.
in this debate,
What?
does this go back to our Android versus iOS? Because it runs iOS, so I guess maybe it should have come up then. But
Could have.
I just
Yeah, but
what's the
Apple
point of an iPad
same
now?
OS,
What's
right?
the point of new
Across
models?
the
I've had
watch, the
iPads
iPad, all
before.
the same.
I love them. The Apple Watch, I don't really care for. I get too many notifications as it is. I can't handle anymore. Yeah, and my only hang up with the foldable laptops is I feel like over time, whatever little sensors and triggers there are to tell your keyboard and your touchpad that you're folded in half, it start
Yeah.
to get pretty weak. Not to the point where the keyboard works when it's folded in half, but it's when you bring it back to a regular laptop mode, the touchpad doesn't work.
For
And
the price of a Mac, I can buy 2 of them though.
that's my other issue is how often do you want to replace your computers? Do you want to replace it more often, in which case you'd go with the whole PC lineup? Or do you want something that'll last for 8 to 10 years?
Or something that allows me to actually upgrade it. Like, when's the last time you bought a video card for yours?
I didn't have to, and that's been a wonderful experience. It just came with this beautiful screen. Now, if I was gaming, yeah, that's a different story. Anybody who's a
Gaming,
gamer, don't even
right.
bother with Mac. I will admit it. Absolutely. Don't even freaking bother. It's not worth your time. It won't work.
I saw a picture of like how to game on a Mac, and they put the MacBook Pro down, used it as a mouse pad while they put it in their Windows machine. That's gaming on a
That's
Mac.
pretty good.
Related, I guess, is the argument, and I know, Derek, you will still defend this, and this will get into our aesthetics argument, which we're trying to avoid, but we'll get there, is that Macs are better for designers and other creative industries. And I want to say, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but that's because in the early days, was Photoshop only on Mac? That can't be right. But
No,
it ran better, I guess, is
it
all.
Yeah,
runs.
Adobe wrote
runs-
everything for the Mac first. Yeah.
Yeah, it runs better. I use, Audition and Premiere Pro for the podcast stuff. This computer that I have now, this Dell, is not slow by any means, but there is still a slight delay. Any mouse movement, any click, everything that I do when I'm in a Photoshop, even if I close all other apps and make sure I only have, as far as peripherals go, I have my mouse, my keyboard, and one monitor. If I reduce it down as much as I can, there is still a noticeable delay on mouse movements and clicks and any shortcuts when I'm running on a PC versus a Mac. There's still just that little delay.
You need a different machine. That's clearly not made for you.
Right. This one wasn't cheap though, is the thing. And the specs and everything are the specs that I had actually talked to you, James, about it a little bit when I was asking about graphics cards and everything like that.
Yeah, I remember.
Finding a PC with the correct color range. So 100% Adobe Color, or now it's is it DPI? 100% DPI. No question, you're going to spend over $1,000 on a PC. So if you want something that's functional and the screen isn't like somebody turned the lights off, that super dim look that makes you strain your eyes just to try and read what people are emailing you, then you're over $1,000. So that price thing kind of goes out the window if you're actually using a laptop. Anything less, you can just get a Chromebook with the children.
That is one thing I will say that Mac has done better. Because they control the whole hardware experience, right? You can't just plug in any monitor you want. So now they control the experience. So the same red is the same red on every Mac, same blue on every Mac, regardless. So artists love that feature. No doubt about it. That's tough to beat. Otherwise, we're doing color profiles. I actually load custom color profiles on my monitors in order to equate that. But yeah, when you're dealing with 6,000 different monitor vendors, can't really play that same game.
Now, what I will say is Windows in the last while, I don't remember if it was HP or Samsung or who it was, they have come a long way with the big, what are they called? The big touch screens. Are they the ThinkPads? What are those ones called?
Oh, it's like a monitor?
Yeah. We had one
Like an all-in-one?
in the old office. We have one in the office.
Oh. Yeah,
Something
the
along those
Microsoft,
lines.
the
Something.
Microsoft
Anyway,
product, yeah.
big monitor, but it's an all-in-one, and it is a touchscreen with a stylus. They even have this little customizable knob that you can stick on the. So they have come leaps and bounds on trying to make it more useful for designers. There are actually a decent percentage of creatives that actually swear by HP up and down. I don't know why. They're all in their own weird little circle, but
because they don't spend nearly as much.
They have tried.
But speaking of business, like how many Apple servers do you see out there? Right? How does Apple exist in this space? There is actually such a thing. There is an Apple server. It's a piece of software you load on an existing Mac and turns it into a quote unquote server where it has some kind of basic permissions and you can share out files. But it's cumbersome and kludgy and yeah, you don't use Apples for business, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not common.
Pretty rare.
Although in the past, for one of the agencies I worked for, I did do a cost analysis of the average lifetime we were seeing out of a PC versus the average lifetime we were seeing out of a Mac. And it came pretty dang close.
Really?
With how often you have to replace PCs. And now this was an agency, so it was like power users. It wasn't just some web browsers. They were working pretty hard on it. My very first PC in years was at that agency. It was an Asus. 2 weeks till the hard drive died. Like, it wasn't repairable. It was dead.
Wow.
And Asus was good. They're like, yeah, send it back and we'll just give you a brand new hard drive. I said, no, I'm going to go ahead and get a computer that works from the Mac store, the Apple store. So I
Nice.
don't have to do this again. That's great that
I'm
you
gonna
are
skip my mortgage.
you're so fast about replacing the hard drive that broke after 2 weeks. I'm sure when it breaks in another 2 weeks, you'll be super fast about replacing it again. I don't care for that. That's not really an upsell.
I can see why your experience with PC hasn't been that great. You have different
I haven't
experience
had a
than I do.
PC that didn't suck. It's just how it goes. From a tower and then a traditional desktop to laptops, I've just never had one that didn't have a crashing problem or something along those lines.
If you ever
All right,
decide
I'm
to
gonna
try
throw
again,
a
let me
dig
know.
out.
All right,
I'm gonna throw a dig.
do it.
PC, and this is to the actual, Windows versus OS, whatever it's called
Mac
these
OS.
days.
Mac OS.
Yeah. Windows users can go to Mac and be okay with it. And maybe that's a selling point. Mac users lose their minds if you put them in front of a PC. It's like
Command
I don't
Shift
know what's going
4.
on. And I'm just like, it's just a computer, It's not that different. I feel like it's not that different. So, I mean, read into that as you will. Maybe it's Mac has a better interface, so it's easier for anyone to use, or it's just that Mac users don't understand technology. I don't know. I'll leave the implication there. But,
No, it is disorienting for some reason. Now, if it's with a mouse, then it's one thing. But to go from
A Magic Mouse, where I took off all the
No.
buttons and charge you $100 for it.
Never used one of those. I refuse to, because to go from the best of the best as far as touchpads go, that is on a Mac. The texture that they have, the response, how
Nice
responsive
big
it
one
is.
on the
that
new
one,
ones. Yeah.
To go from that to anything that PC puts on, one is already infuriating. So you're already in a bad mood when you just move the mouse to go click on and open an application. In that quick arc, you're in a bad mood. You're already pissed off. Finally, on this one, they have the 2-finger click for a right click. That wasn't a thing on PCs for kind of a long time. It was always in the bottom left corner. And if it
Man,
wasn't
how old
in
is your
the-
computer? That's been a
if
thing
it
for
wasn't in the
years,
corner
dude.
enough, then it didn't count as a left click. And yeah, it just
I got
terrible
3-finger,
functionality.
2-finger.
Full users are
motions.
nothing if not dramatic. I mean, I think we can agree on that.
Yeah,
it's
all
very
right.
true.
It must be the touch bar that did it for you. It's like, oh, I've got a touch bar now. Now I'm set.
I like it. It's not quite as handy. Honestly, what the touch bar does is just you didn't get like the volume buttons and the screen brightness buttons on a regular Mac. You had to go into it. It was really annoying. So the touch bar was just a very ineffective or inefficient way to bring those buttons back, as far as I'm concerned, on a daily user basis. So touch bar or not, I don't know. It's nice when I'm texting from my laptop because it always has the emoji bar open, which I use a lot of emojis apparently when I text.
Good to know.
But there's one of my biggest hangups: AirDrop and texting from your Mac.
Can't use texting from your phone. There's
Yes,
been
you
been a browser-based version of Google Messages for
Browser-based.
years and years and years. And
I
years.
got Your Phone now. It actually works pretty well. I've been using it. It's called Your Phone.
Is that going to
It's
be
not,
a
it's not
an
seamless as
argument?
the Apple experience, I admit.
If that argument, we have a browser-based version of that, was valid,
Oh.
then Chromebook would be the best thing in the world.
Look
We
up
have
Your
a
Phone.
browser-based version of that. Do you have a browser-based version of AirDrop that doesn't compress files to
No.
within an
Nothing
inch
Yeah,
of
it's
their
called
compares to
Google
AirDrop.
Photos and Google
Google
Drive.
Photos? Oh my
Dude,
god, I
AirDrop
used
is the
that
bomb. I have to admit.
regularly, and it's not
AirDrop,
the same.
fine, but you can't use the messaging and other sync things as an argument because it's been around forever.
So
and
no
it works
positives.
great.
I can't use the positives as a positive argument.
You
All
can
right,
use
we'll stick-
AirDrop. That's a good argument.
stick with the
AirDrop's
weaker
great. You can't use messaging.
That's
No,
everybody's
a
like,
pretty
you
good
can-
deal.
You can sync your messages on your Mac. You've been doing that for years and years and years and years.
And now you have
Just
your
out of the
phone, which is
cloud.
pretty. It's not as seamless, but it's pretty good. If you've tried it, if you haven't, you should give it a shot. It works pretty
We
well
already
with
learned the
an
defeat
Android
last
phone.
time.
How often do PC users use that explanation? Is
Of
pretty
what?
good. It's not as nice, but it's pretty good. Oh, we're not spending so much money because we've got everything that's just good enough.
Well, that way I can just avoid touching the screen.
Oh yeah, Mac users are real. I mean, we were talking about touchscreen, but man, they get really sensitive about getting fingers anywhere close to the screen.
God,
Do
it
not
does
put a
absorb
thumbprint on
fingerprints
it.
like it's nobody's business. It is yeah, you can't do that.
How
Or
about
the
a 10
number of
key?
times when I'm used to using a Mac and then I'm working with somebody and I'm showing them something and I accidentally touch their screen and then it changes everything because it's a touch screen. That my bad. I'm sorry. I
But
don't
you
have
ever
that.
input numbers like with the touchpad or 10 key? When was the last time you saw a 10 key on a Mac?
I did pay a lot of extra money to get the Bluetooth keyboard
Did you?
with the 10 key on
Okay,
it. And I'm
nice.
not getting about a whole lot of extra money. Now that is my biggest issue with Mac is peripherals.
I was just gonna say, speaking of extra money,
Yeah,
If
Thunderbolt.
you enjoy peripherals like keyboards and mice and everything like that, you're gonna have a hard time. One, the
What it-
Magic Mouse, I can't stand it. But if you want like a Logitech mouse, it's not gonna work very well on a Mac. It's just not. Even if it's built for Mac, they genuinely built this whole mouse just for Mac. It's not gonna work the way you want it to. It's just it doesn't work well. And
Apple compatible.
Mac has an acceleration arc when you're using an actual mouse. So if you
Yeah.
like the feel of using a mouse, it's going to feel very unnatural when you switch from a PC to a Mac. If you stick with a touchpad, then it's no problem. But yeah, for peripherals,
Accessories.
Mac,
Windows is a lot better.
would it kill Mac to include an HDMI port?
I was just going to bring that
I
up.
think
Thank
it
you.
might actually kill
I
them. Yeah,
mean,
I'm pretty sure it will.
how many
Because everything's got to
times
be Thunderbolt.
have I been in so many scenarios, personal and business? Somebody's trying to present something, and you know what's screwing it up? The person is trying to use a Mac while doing
Don't
it.
have a Thunderbolt. Yeah.
PCs are fine. You need to
Anyone have
present
Thunderbolt
something.
to HDMI? Anybody?
I don't know.
But
I've
every
probably
time it's a Mac,
prepared,
it's
so
a
it's not
whole, we got to disrupt
problem for me.
everything to get your computer to work on our presentation.
Oh, hang on though. Well, wholesale summit. If you wanted to
We
use our
can't bring that up.
TV,
It's not a
if you
PC or a
wanted to
Mac.
use
It
our
was
TV,
running a
the
Linux
instructions
software.
on this little AirPlay or screen share on the TV are: if you're on a Mac, pick the name on the screen share drop down. If you're on a PC, go to this website and download this driver so that you can freaking AirPlay to this TV.
And you know what
Don't
we
talk to
figured
me
out
about
about that is it
disruptions.
was browser based and it worked out fine. I can't use AirPlay on a PC, so it's pretty exclusatory there.
Yeah,
Apple's really good at being exclusatory. I mean,
they are
Yeah,
good
yeah.
at
makes it
making
a little
people
more
feel bad about
open. Welcome,
themselves.
come on in.
You ever tried to copy files between even users on the same Mac? Like I was switching users and I had to copy files between his machine. I'm like, okay. Oh my! I copied to a flash drive. Tried to copy him back. Didn't work. Copied to OneDrive. Tried to copy him back. Didn't work. Permission errors all over the place. No, sorry, this is for somebody else. I had to put him to a public folder and then go back to the user and pull him out of the public folder and put him in his documents. And it's like, wait a minute, I just want to share some files.
Yep. AirDrop would have saved
Between the same user on the same Mac.
On the same Mac? Oh, that's a good question. Never
I
had to
don't
try
think
it.
so.
I don't share
Okay.
my computer. I think if there are people who are disrupting the flow of a meeting because they're trying to use a Mac and they don't have the right, adapter, you can put them on a PC. They're still going to disrupt your freaking meeting because clearly they don't know how to come prepared to anything. So that's kind of on the person.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're all IT people here for an IT company, and so user error, of course, is why our company exists. So, yeah, you're right. I mean,
Thank
at the end
you.
of the day, the user will mess it up.
Job
and
security.
yeah,
That's right. Forever job security. The one thing, especially because it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, that I have to get out because it drives me crazy, and it's an unhealthy rumor that I think finally is starting to go away. But that early on thought process that Macs can't get viruses or ransomware, spamware, has been false since its inception. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why they did it, but it happened. Now, what I'm curious about, James, is there are still statistics there that make the claim that Macs are less susceptible. You're less likely to have those kinds of problems if you're on a Mac. Is that accurate, or is it because there are less Macs out there than there are PCs,
Yeah.
and that's the whole
What
reason
attacker
that
wants to
that's
write for a
true?
Mac that's used by a bunch of artists, starving artists? I'm going to steal from a bunch of starving artists.
Kind of what I thought. So we need to get
Put
that
all
out
their
there.
money into their hardware, their Apple hardware. They don't have any more money to steal because it's so expensive.
And there's been plenty of challenges, right? I think in April this year there was some Big Sur challenges where they patched Apple AVD was broken, and they patched Big Sur, but not in the previous versions, and so everyone was kind of left exposed for quite a while there. They're not alone. They just don't make it as obvious. They try to keep it really, really quiet when they do those
They do, and they do things like try to not pay their bug bounties.
things. Right.
Such a bad idea. You don't do that to somebody who does that as a profession, or any IT professional. You don't not pay your bug bounties. That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
So we will shout that from all of the rooftops. If you're on a Mac, you can still get ransomware. You can still get malware. You can still fall to social engineering, all of it. Nothing is different. You need to treat it just the same as every other mobile device or personal computer out there. You're not impervious. It's a lie that's been around for way longer than it needs to be. And in the last few years, especially for whatever reason around the pandemic, people have started to grow. Cyber attackers have started to get more interested in going after Macs than they have PCs. So yeah,
That's true.
you're not
There's
safe.
a lot of executives like using Macs these days, and we have definitely seen malware and ransomware impact Macs and just as well as PCs. So you are not safe. Please get your antivirus and your anti-ransomware and all other MFA or multi-factor authentication and all the other security levels we discuss in other
There's
podcasts. Yeah.
So
I had to throw it in.
there's our inflammatory news little soundbite from James himself. If you're on a PC, you can't be an executive of a company because they all use Macs.
Many of them use Macs.
I'm gonna get to work on that, James. I'm gonna pull out some
Look,
audio
within
editing
Executive
magic.
Tech, several of our leaders use Macs.
It's true.
It's true.
They just know something, I guess, that
What do
so
you
many
do?
people are missing.
They just want a ridiculously expensive computer.
There it is.
Now the resale value, I'll admit, right? I can resell it for nearly as much as I bought it for 5 years later. Now, why I'd want to buy a 5-year-old machine for half or more than that someone paid for is beyond me. But
You have 6 options to choose from. That's it. PC, man. I mean, and look, from a marketing perspective, that it's a better play, right? Too many options is a problem. You want to narrow it down, but you don't get to customize. Zero fun. This is what you get. Whereas
Zero
PC,
fun.
you can have whatever you want. There's just
Yes.
For better and worse, there are so many vendors, so many providers, so many different products and hardware that you can mix and match, and it's great.
All I hear is so many different components that can go wrong for separate reasons because you're relying on the build quality and the overall quality of all of these different peripherals to Frankenstein a machine together. One of them breaks, and now you have to go through this whole diagnostic checklist to figure out which one of your
You want
random
to
body
bring that
parts-
up?
which one of your random body parts broke, and then you have to figure out why it broke and then how to fix it.
You want to go there? What's it like to repair an Apple? I mean, we started at the top with your Apple Care thing. Same thing
yeah.
with an iPhone. What's Apple's recommendation? Do not use third-party repair whatsoever. You must use our $300 minimum
Like
Take it to
repair
dealership.
service. With a PC, you could, call your local buddy and they could figure it out and fix it. With an Apple, if you open the phone at all and look at it wrong, you voided the warranty and we're going to charge you anyway.
well,
And nuclear.
will
There's
let
something
you-
about nuclear is in there too, right? If you're around nuclear components, it also will void the warranty. Like that's in there. Yeah, you can't use it to disarm bombs or something. Pretty funny.
That's pretty funny. That's a
Yeah.
random clause.
In there.
Only a lawyer would think about something like that. But Gary, my Mac is only 5 years old and I use it every single day. So in another 5 years, when it actually breaks, I'll tell you what it's like to have to do any kind of repairs on a Mac.
I'm not sure the IT crew would agree with you, but all right, that's fair enough.
Oh, I could only imagine. I'll just
We
I'll
have a whole
apologize
subsidiary
now.
company that all they did was Apple repair and service.
Yeah,
So
I will apologize now to our whole IT department. I love you guys. Please don't hate me forever.
That's funny.
Okay, now my other hang up, and I want your opinion on this, if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because for me, I'm an impatient person and I like everything to be top of the line at all times, which is not very reasonable, but still. You have all of your specs, your screen brightness, your, all of the power behind your laptop and what you can do, the processing power, everything like that. When it's a PC, there's two different numbers, when it's plugged in and when it's not plugged in, because when your PC is not plugged in, unless you go into the settings and adjust it, it's just completely hamstringed.
It dims
You
it.
can't
Yeah.
have a bright screen. You can't process nearly as much. And the whole theme, of course, is battery saving. But good hell do they take it to an extreme.
Yeah.
It's like you just shaved $700 off the value of your laptop just by unplugging it. And you're basically working on a Chromebook now. I want your guys' opinion. Is that a good thing or a bad
I'm not
thing?
standing for
Personally,
this
it
Chromebook.
drives me insane.
Stuck on Chromebooks.
Oh, I can't.
So the screen brightness, agreed, right? We all know screen brightness sucks the most bad, no, it's better
Oh,
than everything else. So definitely want to decrease that. I bought a laptop that had both a onboard and an external video card. So when I'm not playing games, not plugged in, it switches to the onboard video card using way less power. Pretty smart. Battery lasts a lot longer when I'm not plugged in. Rather, when I am plugged in, it'll use the full gaming rig, which I can play games on. But we already talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, you automatically adjust the screen brightness to lower it so the battery lasts longer.
I don't know. I mean, I see what you're saying, Derek, and how that could be frustrating. I guess I don't know if I see it any differently than your phone adjusting its brightness when it's nighttime. Or you're below 20% battery and it starts operating a little differently to try and conserve.
I think
don't
what gets me the most is the processing power. And especially on now, Gary, you have the same laptop, because it is such a powerful machine. When it is unplugged, all of that power is just drastically cut down. And again, you can go into the settings and adjust
know.
everything, but why is that a
We have the
default?
option to change that.
Why is that a default? To just hamstring a device like that just because you unplugged it? Not
You
much
want
of
to
a
talk about hamstringing a device. How about that
portable
time
laptop.
Apple hamstringed the old iPhones and purposely throttled them for that exact reason?
Yeah, Apple likes to do that. If your device is too old, then they're going to start actively attacking you so that you buy a new one. That's pretty
Mhm.
fair.
I mean, and
Yeah.
look, we're not here to defend evil billion-dollar corporations or still, billion-dollar corporations with mixed morals, but it's still.
But how many different devices have PCs come out with where they've almost had to issue a public apology like they did with Vista? Like, we're going to stop calling it Vista. We're just going to call it Windows now so that people forget that Vista was a thing. That was
And
the whole
ME.
campaign during that was we're gonna pretend that this isn't Vista. It's just Windows now. It doesn't have a
Yeah.
name because the name is synonymous with something awful.
ME as well. Usually every other operating system. Now, I have to admit, 10 was not a bomb like we were afraid it might be, fortunately.
It was like this is
11.
the super reference, but it's like the Star Trek movies.
Yeah.
The odd ones are good, or the even ones are good. The even ones are good.
Yes. I'm pretty pleased with Windows 11 so far. The main reason is it feels a lot more like the Mac OS. It just functions more like a Mac. As far as
It's got a taskbar.
the visual functions, the very,
Yeah.
very visual functions. As far as
They took
the
some cues.
detailed stuff, I don't know completely, but yeah, it just functions more like a Mac.
Taskbar versus dock. What's the docking? Dock is dock. Mac dock, right? I mean, I can actually see. I can put my mouse over it. I can see all the windows that are open in my Excel document. I can pick one. I can right click and select a jump list of all my different Excel documents. And the Apple Dock, I just like, okay, I can pin some stuff to it. And if it's on, well, it's got a little light next to it. I don't know what's running, but it's on. Usually it's on when I don't mean it to. Like, how did I close that window? It's still a light next to it. What's going on here?
Yeah, some don't close automatically when you X out of them. Photoshop is one of them. If you hit the X on Photoshop on a Mac,
Right.
it will
It
half close it.
minimizes.
It won't minimize
I
it, but
hate that.
it's a step between minimizing it and actually just closing the friggin' program.
So it
like you
opens
have to.
faster
hate
whenever
that
you open it,
so
right?
much. When I press
Drives me
the
nuts.
X, I want you to die.
Be gone.
Program.
Go away.
Don't Don't jerk my chain around and pretend. I hate
If I
that.
wanted you to hide in the background, I would have hid you in the background.
Exactly.
Right. I would have pushed a different button. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one.
All right. And why did they go back to the M chip? They finally adopted Intel. Software developers everywhere were like, yay, we don't have to write, very different, almost the same code for both operating systems. And now suddenly they're like, nope, we want to switch processors again. I think so.
Yeah, they tend to like money. But that M1 chip is a beast. For developers and everything, that sucks. You have to do a
You
whole
got to
lot more
code
work.
two whole different,
You have
whole
to code
different good
everything.
things, man. Yeah.
But for a user standpoint, that M chip is a wonderful thing. The M1,
As soon
I
as
don't
it's
know enough
compatible
about
with
the
everything
M2.
anyway.
Yeah. I don't know enough about the M2. I won't get into that. I will take our
Yeah, I haven't
tech's word
seen
for it
M2.
that there are some kinks that they have to work out with the M2 before it's as good, which that's pretty typical of almost any tech company out there. Is they can come out with a version 2 of a wonderful thing and somehow it's worse. That's all technology. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that's true.
Usually it's early releases.
Yep. Now, my
Right.
last
Yeah.
big one
Bring it.
is all of the pre-downloaded garbage that comes on every single PC that you buy.
Yep.
To the point that
This we were talking about. Yeah.
most companies, when you get a new laptop, it actually goes to your IT department first, because it takes an IT person to actually be able to completely clean off
Yeah.
a computer before they give it to you.
Yeah.
Because the regular user, you can't do it. You don't know enough to get it 100% off your system. And for a while, it was things like McAfee and Norton, and we know how wonderful those companies turned out to be. So it's not like it's always going to be these wonderful, reputable companies that are getting pre-downloaded on your brand new device that will always launch on open and just destroy everything.
There is a site out
PC
there.
needs to stop doing that crap.
There's like a garbage. Oh gosh, I'm trying to blank on the name. But there's a website you can go to. It's like D-Junk or something like that. And that's literally what they do. Is it's designed for people who bought a new computer to go in there and click a button and remove all the crap that you're never going to want to use on that thing anyway. Because same deal, right? I'm a manufacturer. I'm going to augment the cost of my machine by putting somebody else's software in there. They're going to pay me. I can hopefully lower the cost of the machine that way.
Which we give Apple crap for being so greedy, which they absolutely are.
Yeah.
PC and like separately, Lenovo, HP, and I don't know if it was Dell or not, the third one, all massively outsell Mac year over year. And they still supplement by letting junk spam get installed on brand new computers. So talk about greed there. Is if you're already massively outselling everyone, why do you still need to do that? Just charge me an extra $30 for a separate mouse instead.
No
I'll take
doubt.
that. I will pay more money for peripherals if it means I don't have to deal with all the spam that you pre-downloaded onto my brand new device.
I forgot. It's got a great name. It's called the PC Decrapifier.
Fire.
And it's actually a website
it.
you can go to help you with that.
I might need that on this new machine here. And look, I got to give that one to you, Derik. Also, even on the, and maybe it's less now, but on the phone front, I was long time ago on Apple. I switched to Android when the Pixel came out, and the Pixel is squeaky clean. There's none of that crap on it, and it's why I love it. Samsung's, LG's, all that other stuff, same deal. It comes with all kinds of crap.
My S20 was loaded with crap I didn't need on there. And some of it you can't remove. Like, no, sorry, this is part of the deal. You got to keep it.
They paid us enough money to make it permanent.
Right, exactly. We've got it built in. Sorry.
But I will give that to Chromebooks. I don't think there's a lot of pre-installed junk on a Chromebook either.
It can't
I've only
be.
set up
It barely has enough processing power to do what it needs to do.
power to do it. It's probably not out of a choice. It's out of they were forced to not add anything on it. The whole thing will crash. I was trying to be positive, James.
I'm going to write a treatise in defense of the Chromebook. I'm not saying it's good for everything, but it has its place.
It's wonderful for children.
Yeah. My grandkids have them.
It is great
My
or
son bought
children.
one for his grandkids, and he didn't have to spend a fortune, so it was a good
Yep.
deal.
Just like the Gab phone, my middle schooler has one of those where all it does is text and call. You can kind of send pictures, not really though.
Yeah.
That's all it does, and that's great as a first phone. So a Chromebook is great as a, you go from what are the leapfrog pads that you get your toddlers. The Chromebook is that next step before you get a real machine.
Better than Etch-a-Sketch, I guess. All right, last joke for Apple. Why do Apple fans love the MacBook candle so much? They're already used to the smell of burning synthetic materials and watching their money go up in flames.
That's pretty good. I like it.
Well, I'm not surprised that this one went longer, but I
No.
think obviously no
45 minutes
conclusions
left.
here. We weren't
Yeah.
here for conclusions.
No, not so much. If you want conclusions, ask a different
Make your
question.
Yeah. There are applications for both. There is no doubt in my mind. There's a place for each.
Yep. Yeah, I think we'll start to wrap this up. Any final thoughts, James and Gary, on this time-old debate?
Stay safe no matter what platform you use, please.
You're not safe anywhere. Remember that.
Right. Yeah.
Suspicious. Yep.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us for our live, and thank you to all those who jumped on and to watch us. We will be live 2 more weeks, next week and the week after, every Tuesday at 10:40 Mountain Standard Time. Next week, we are talking about top tech, things that we're excited for in the coming years, whether they're currently out and brand new or something that is still a theory and a maybe, and smarter people than us are working hard to make it happen. And then we'll dabble a little bit into gifts, tech gifts for people. So that's
Awesome.
next week. Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
See
Take
you
care,
guys
everyone.
then.